So let's go ahead and get started with our session. Good morning, welcome back. I'm still Judge Carr. This is the Specialty Courts breakout track. Typically, treatment court team members report directly to and work for the court in Travis County. Mental health court case managers and peer support staff are integrated into the Managed Assigned Counsel Program, which I have studied for many years, and I'm very envious of this program that they run in Travis County. In this presentation, members of the Travis County Mental Health Court team will highlight how aligning some of the treatment court team along with the defense team enhances participant retention, treatment outcomes, and overall success of both the mental health court and participants. So let me ask you to please welcome Katy Jo Muncie, Theo Scrivner, Diana Hernandez, and Kathleen Tiernan as they will make a presentation on what they do in Travis County. So let's welcome them. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. We will be applying for those grants, so please be on the lookout. All right, thank you guys for being here today. I'm Katy Jo Muncie. I'm the Deputy Director and Director of Defense Counsel and Outreach Services at the Capital Area Private Defender Service. So we say CAPS, it's a silent D, so we'll refer to our program as CAPS while we're up here. This is Diana Hernandez. She is our mental health court team lead. Theo Scrivner is our mental health peer support and recovery specialist. Peer support, right, Theo? You have both? Yeah. And then Kathleen Tiernan. And Kathleen is new to our team, but she's doing great, and so we wanted to bring her up here and put a lot of pressure on her and make sure she could answer all the questions. So before we get started, first of all, can you just raise your hands if you're from Travis County? Great, thank you. It's like half the room. So I just want to give a shout out to all of our Travis County partners. So this court started in kind of the inception was 2019 when the ideas started floating around. And since then, we've had so many great partners. Our judges, Judge Williams, Judge Grizzard, are great advocates for our program. The prosecutor's office, both county attorney and district attorney, have both been just so helpful. Our pretrial program. And so I just want to say before we get started that this program wouldn't be possible, and the success of this program wouldn't be possible without them. So thank you guys. And thank you all the Travis County people for coming to support us. So before we get started, I just want to talk a little bit about what Managed Assigned Counsel is, because it's important to understand that so that you can understand how we were able to make this model for this mental health court work. So Managed Assigned Counsel, I tell people, is like if a public defender's office and private attorney had a baby, you would get our organization. So the institutionalized like public defense piece is CAPS. We provide supportive services to our attorneys, do all the management, supervision, case support, staffing, vouchering, anything that those lawyers need, our team helps support them. So we have a legal team that helps do all like the legal matters, and then we have our supportive services, which involves immigration, case management, peer support, and social work mitigation. And so all of our attorneys are independent contractors, and so that's kind of the private piece. So that's why that like analogy of it being a baby is kind of the best way I've been able to explain it to people. So in Travis County, the Managed Assigned Counsel Program handles roughly a little over 80% of the cases. There's a smaller public defender's office that handles between 15 and 20% of the cases. And so in the inception of this idea with the mental health court and bringing the mental health court resources in-house, it really made sense to go into the Managed Assigned Counsel Program because for a few reasons. One, majority of the cases in the clients in the program are CAPS clients. And also the mental health public defender's office has their own in-house resources for case management, and they want to work, their case managers want to work with their clients. So it kind of made sense for it to be divided up that way. And we really just thought as we were building out this program, which we did apply for the governor's grant in 2019, and we didn't get it. So now it's a county program, a county-funded program. So when we were building out this program, we were looking at like all the different ways that we could really like stand out and have this be successful. And with that kind of bifurcated system of having managed assigned counsel and having public defense, it was like an interesting model of how would these case managers work. And so because we are this unique program, we're a nonprofit, because we are this unique program, we were able to bring those resources in-house. And so same thing with peer support. What we had floated around originally was some ideas of like outsourcing the peer support to a local agency in Travis County that we work with, and the case managers would be somewhere, and then we would have like a substance abuse treatment partner, and it was just going to be all over the place. And so really like bringing them in-house has made a huge difference. And so I'm a big fan of that. I'm going to let them talk more about what that looks like and why it makes sense. But just kind of understanding that the reason this has worked is because we are a managed assigned counsel program, and I put that plug out there because I really appreciate Judge Carr saying that he's a big fan. It's something that, and Travis County has made a huge difference in our indigent defense program, and so I just want to encourage other counties to do the same thing, and if anybody has any questions about that, we can talk about it after this presentation. So, that being said, I want to just get started. I'm going to ask the team some questions, and if you have questions during the presentation, I've been told to direct you to the mics. So don't let that discourage you from asking a question. If you want to stay seated, you can ask it and I'll repeat it. But also, if you do want to ask a long question, please use the mics. So let's just get started. Diana, if you want to just talk by telling us how this structure is different from other treatment courts.
Yes. So the structure is different in that the mental health court team were hired directly by CAPS. So this allows us to become part of the defense team and be able to work in that holistic environment with the other teams, but also be able to work more closely with the defense attorneys.
All right, and can you just elaborate a little bit on like why we chose to do it this way, like the value of that?
Yes, we chose to do this because it would then give us more opportunity to be able to, like, for example, we were able to do a ton of research, a ton of shadowing. I want to shout out Judge Yolanda Huff. We did, she's here today. She was a big resource. We shadowed her virtually in person. So we were just able to be able to do this change by shadowing. We attend the R.S.P.S conference. It's a 4 to 5 day conference, and we just learned about treatment courts. So we were able to look at courts that had been working, that had been established for many years and were working, and be like, can you let us shadow you? What has worked for you? What hasn't worked for you? And from then on, we were able to bring different parts and apply it to our county, to what we were experiencing.
So Diana's being a little bit humble. She did so much research and put so much energy into developing this program. Diana's been with us since the inception. So we applied for the governor's grant in 2019. We didn't get it. Then COVID happened. And so then we it was a little bit challenging to get the program up and running, but Diana's been with us since the beginning, and really, truly, if it wasn't for her and all her research and the support of Judge Huff, which is in Bexar County, we have to also her program, she's doing great stuff over there. Without all of that support, and really without Diana spearheading it, we wouldn't be, the program wouldn't be as successful as it is today. So she's being a little bit humble, but can you talk a little bit more just about like what you put into it and All Rise and just kind of your research?
Yes, so as I mentioned, we shadowed Bexar County, Harris County, Midland, Odessa. We talked with their coordinators, we talked with their case managers, we requested that, if they wanted to share documents, and from there on, we got an idea of the ones that we're already establishing. The R.S.P.S conference, that was like an eye-opening for us. We got a lot of information about how to integrate peer support, how do case managers work, and how do we then bring that to the court. And so our goal was to become experts at what we're doing. We also had the whole mental health court team shadow, including prosecutors, pretrial. Katy Joe went with us. We went to Bexar County. We shadowed so that they could see where we were coming from. When we just started, I think that I could say this is what I learned from my research, but as time kept going on, I could say we've tried this and I feel that this has worked, or we tried this and it didn't work, let's reevaluate. So I just feel that we've been applying the research and then continue keeping up to date, because there's new research coming up every day. And so just keeping up with the research, what are the standards from RISE. I remember last 2 years ago, I went and all the sessions that I attended were about standards, because that was our goal. Just making sure that we had the best practice, the best standards, and then we came home and reevaluated and to see what we could apply.
Kathleen, being new to the program, do you have any input on like the research that we've done or any ideas? Like, what were your thoughts coming into the program?
Yeah, I think what has really stood out to me, as Katie Jo mentioned, I'm fairly new, so I have an outside perspective, but seeing the relationships that Diana has built with the court staff. So, you know, we have a staffing before our felony and misdemeanor courts where we get the prosecutor in the room, the judge, pre-trial, the court liaison from our local mental health authority. Everybody's in a room going over the cases, and it's really cool to see how the judges and the prosecutors defer to the social workers in the room and the peer support specialists in the room for their input. And it's really special to see that everybody has a common goal. So even though they have different backgrounds, different ethical obligations, they really want what's best for the client. I was saying that just last week, one of the judges that we work with, we saw him tell a client that, like, we love you, we want to keep seeing you in court, and we just want you to take care of yourself. So I've been really impressed by the relationships that Diana has built with everybody on the team.
Diana, how do you think being a part of a defense organization has impacted those relationships as opposed to alternative models?
Yes, so just being part of the defense team, I feel that it gives us an opportunity. Recovery is not linear, and so sometimes when our clients aren't doing well, they reach out to us because they know that we'll advocate for them, and then it gives us an opportunity to reach out to the attorney and be able to say, hey, this is going on, and then plan, what the next step is, or say, hey, our client is going through this. We have talked to them about treatment. Do you feel that this would be the best option? And then, the defense attorney then presents it to the judge or to the court. And so I think it just gives us another opportunity to be able to advocate more for our clients.
And how would that type of reporting look different if you weren't inside of a assigned counsel program?
Yeah, I feel that we would have to direct. We would have to report directly to the court, which would make things different. We've seen that whenever we meet with our clients and we tell them, hey, we're part of the defense, we work with your attorney, they're more likely to open up to us. Families as well, when we tell them that we're part of the defense, they're always, whenever they reach out to us and they're like, hey, my son is going through this, or like my brother's going through this, but I don't want to get them arrested. And so we told them, thank you for letting us know. We'll try our best to see how we can help. And I feel that that's one of the fears of the families, that if we were working directly with the court, they would likely not reach out to us and let us know what's going on. I have an example of, I used to go with the client to this organization that it's a drop-in center for adults experiencing mental health. And I would go, you have to become a member. I would go with that client because he didn't feel, he didn't feel like he could be there by himself, so I would just sit in the corner, just wait for him. But it was just assurance that someone he knew was there. And our badge says Travis County, even though we're with CAPS, it says Travis County. And the new CEO from there saw my badge that said Travis County and right away assumed that I was like part of the court that probably pre-trial, and I was asked to leave, and he said that I couldn't come in with the client. And so, just to de-escalate the situation, I was like, yeah, I don't mind stepping out, waiting for him in the car. And then I sent him an email just explaining like, hey, I'm the case manager, I'm part of the defense team. I'm sorry that you got the wrong idea. So I think that for me was a big eye-opening, where people are more likely to work with us when we say that we're part of the defense rather than directly working with the court.
Great. And you can all maybe answer, like, how does that impact your relationship with the client? Theo, you're up.
How does it impact the relationship with the client? I mean, I think it has like some positive impacts in terms of, but also can get some roles reversed in times to where you have to present them with more role clarity in order to kind of keep it in order to be able to best support them from, all avenues of what we do for the client, or the peer.
Kathleen, how do you think working with the defense team as opposed to maybe under the court system, how do you think that impacts relationships with the client?
Yeah, I think all of us on the team really put the relationship first. And we know that building a trusted relationship is the first step to making any sort of meaningful progress. And so we're really lucky that we are structured the way that we are, and we can take the time to go slow with clients, get to know them, and be really patient, because as Diana mentioned, we know that recovery is not a linear process. So when our clients are going through difficult moments or they're not doing well, we can rely on the relationship and the trust that we've built, and just be patient and maintain hope for the clients. And I think that has really, as I mentioned, I'm new, but I feel like I see the relationships that Diana and Theo have with our clients. Sometimes in the courtroom, clients are having a hard time, and there was one time Diana just had to, step out, pull a client out, talk to them, and she can de-escalate very well and kind of ground the client and then go back into the courtroom and do what we need to do. So the relationship is everything to us.
And when it comes to like compliance or reporting whether or not the client is, maybe meeting the terms of the agreement, what does that look like?
For example, the example that comes to mind is one of our clients, was refusing to take meds, was, refusing to engage. And so we were able to work with the attorney, and the attorney was able to provide them with information. For example, if you don't follow through, this is what's going to happen. You're going to be sent to the court where you started, and then you might be facing this, amount of time. And so I think that was really meaningful, because the client was struggling. We knew the reason why they were struggling, and we were able to work with that attorney and meet with them together and just come up with that plan where the client understood what was in line, what was for them, and was able to make better decisions.
So who is responsible? Since the case managers are part of the defense team, you're working on building that trust with the client. Obviously, you're not going to be reporting to the court or prosecutors if the client is maybe having some concerns or issues. So who is responsible for making those?
Yeah, so we do have a group, a pretrial officer who comes to our staffings. They're part of the court, and so that pretrial officer talks to the clients on a regular basis. They're in charge of getting the ROIs to be able to connect with the private providers. If they're not connected to our local mental health authority, they're in charge of implementing any bond conditions like UAs, or if they have a monitor. So I think about it like they're under control, because they're the ones that inform the court if a client is not doing well.
Yeah, so one of the things for our program is that the compliance piece is really left up to pretrial. So as you can imagine, that's kind of what we're trying to highlight, is that really helps build a lot of trust. Our clients can be honest and open about where they're maybe having some challenges and not necessarily comfortable doing that with pretrial, but pretrial has their own compliance piece, and that's the relationship with the court and with the prosecutors to determine, the client's success. Our team gets to really just support them in that. And so really that's like the distinct difference between having case managers that are reporting to the court versus case managers that are working as a part of the team and advocating on behalf of the client. So Theo, can you just tell us generally a little bit about peer support and then what that looks like within the mental health court?
Yeah, so if you're not familiar with peer support, so we, as peer specialists, come to the table with lived experience, someone who's actually navigated the system before and someone who has, went through the trials and tribulations with mental health, addiction, and the recovery. And we are there to kind of help, not help, but like walk side by side with the peer in order to help them find their own paths to recovery, whether it's mental health, addiction, et cetera. So the way that can apply to the mental health court, it can be a little challenging because when you're in a court setting or you're in you're in a jail setting or anything like that, there's a lot of the autonomy is taken away from the peer. So whenever we provide support for them as peer specialists, we're able to help support them in finding their autonomy and also encouraging their self-determination, and also exploring different things, like if they choose not to take their medications, or if they choose not to follow the guidelines or the conditions of what the court's setting for them. It's up to us, the peer and the peer specialists, in order to find what the best path forward is for them. And it's very person-centered, and we let them, they're in the driver's seat. So having said that, it's up to them to want to be able to be successful in this program. So, yeah.
And that's another thing that we take into consideration with having all the supportive services inside of one organization is we're not having to coordinate with an outside agency to make sure that peer is available on our schedule. We're not having to coordinate with the court case managers. They share desks, they share office right next to each other. And so being able to have like that collaborative piece and being able to meet and staff and work together really just does make a difference from trying to like coordinate these meetings. I mean, we all sit in meetings all the time, and you have to send a doodle poll to determine like when people are available, and it ends up being like a month from now. So we don't have those challenges. And on top of that, because we do have our other resources, the social work and mitigation and immigration, we have those other resources within CAPS as well. The team gets to collaborate with our very experienced social work and case manager team that are here. They get to collaborate with them as well to learn resources, they share information, and so that's just more benefit and value of having this team live inside of a defense program. Can you guys talk a little bit about the difference in like ethics between maybe peers and case management, and how you communicate with the attorneys?
Yeah, so we work on a multidisciplinary team, so we have people from several different backgrounds. Diana and I are social workers, Theo's peer support, and then we work with attorneys, judges, prosecutors, et cetera. So all of us have our own ethical standards that we have to follow. We have our own ethical obligations. And one example from just last week that really helped underscore the strength of having a multidisciplinary team is with a client who was getting ready to be released, and we were working very closely with the defense attorney. The attorney was able to get the client out that day, and our team was kind of like, we want to set this client up for success, so let's wait a few days until we can secure a shelter bed. And this client had previously been released to kind of a risky living situation, and so we wanted to intervene and make sure that this client had resources, supportive shelter set up, so we were able to work with the attorney to set up a coordinated release until we had that shelter bed. And so I think that just speaks to the benefits of having legal expertise, social workers, peer support, all working together and bringing their own strengths and perspectives really to support the client.
Diana, do you want to add anything?
Going back on what she said, I think during staffing, it's just really important because everybody has their own ethical standards, or everybody has a goal, but we all come together and work closely for the best of the client. We do have staffings, we have meetings. If we're worried about a client, we can meet at a different time, or we can schedule something and all of us just come to the table. But I feel that everybody brings a different part. Prosecutors, they want to keep the community safe. Defense attorneys, as she mentioned, the attorney was like, I can try and get the client out as soon as possible, and was willing to work with us and give us a couple of days. So we understand everybody's roles, and then we try to be respectful of what everybody's trying to accomplish or what their role is.
So what do you think some of the challenges are using our model versus maybe the case managers being under the judges?
Yeah. Something that we've been working with, a challenge that we saw at the beginning was just sharing information. There's a lot of ROIs required. We needed an ROI from the local mental health authority, our ROI to, be able to get the information directly from the jail if our clients are on medication. So any agency that they were connected to, we needed an ROI. And since we weren't part of the court, we don't get some of the information that other staff members do get, and that's a challenge that we saw at the beginning. But we've been working with, we have better communication with the local mental health authority. If they're making at the jail, if they're making changes, we're more aware if there's a new ROI that's required. Where before, we would be surprised, oh, this is a new way that we're doing ROIs. But I feel that's something that we have been working on, and we hope to continue improving.
Are there any benefits that we haven't addressed? Obviously, we're trying to teach everyone about why we think this is a great model, but are there any benefits that maybe we haven't addressed that you think that we should highlight?
Yeah. Some of the benefits that I see is just being part of that holistic team. As you mentioned, CAPS has a mitigation team, has a counsel at first appearance team, they have an immigration team, and just being able to have those resources available, even though mitigation does something different than us, or counsel at first appearance, they do something different. Everybody in our team has different expertise. For example, I was working with a client that, as she was going through the mental health court, got a new diagnosis of personality disorder. One of our team members had a lot of good experience working with, clients with that diagnosis, and I was able to just have conversations with her, see if there was anything that I could be doing different with my client, how to set boundaries, and so just everybody on our team has different knowledge about different topics, and since we're there and we're all at the office, we can just be like, hey, do you have a minute to talk about this? With our immigration attorneys, we've had a couple of clients that have gone through the mental health court, where we were able to work with them so that our clients could know, if you don't get this charge dismissed, what's at risk for you. So just having those in-house resources available for us has been a big change for us.
Kathleen, you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of flexibility that comes from being a nonprofit, and we can tailor our approach to each of our clients. And I would say that we have a very diverse client population. Some of our clients are brand new to the criminal justice system, and this is their first time engaging with the system. So we have the potential to connect them with the local mental health authority, develop a treatment plan, and set them on a different path. Some of our other clients are those high utilizer populations, so they've been in and out of the criminal justice system, they've engaged with the mental health authority, and they've lived with mental health symptoms for most of their life. So with those kinds of clients, we have to take a totally different approach. But we're lucky that we can apply for independent grants, we can change our approach, we can be creative and problem solve on the spot so that we make sure we're tailoring our approach to each of our clients and their unique needs.
Yeah, and that brings up a good point. So at the time that we started this program, obviously we didn't know that this was going to happen, but Travis County started a Counsel at First Appearance program. And so what's come along with that is some great case managers who are all here today. It's a new program for us. We're learning a ton. It's like drinking from a fire hose. But our team is at those first appearance when clients are at their bail hearings getting their bond set. And so what has come of that is we've had mental health court clients get rearrested who are at those having their hearings, and the case manager is able to like snag that client. We recognize the name. We're able to then like immediately connect them with mental health court, which that's something that we never knew was going to happen when we started this court. But because of the case managers being all a part of the same team as the COFA case managers, that's like been a huge benefit and something we're able to have early intervention with that client, get them out of custody, get them back into their housing, get them back into treatment, whatever their issue is. So that's been like an unintended benefit of us doing it this way. And so if that's happening, what other things are going to come along the way that are going to add that same value and benefit to our clients?
I think we have a question.
Oh, do we have a question? Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Thanks for using the mic.
Sorry.
Too.
Yeah. So I just have a question. I'm a little confused. I apologize. I run a mental health specialty court in El Paso County. And so what I'm confused about is the clients that you represent, how do you, I mean, are you only representing them in a mental health specialty court in Travis or Bexar County? Because it sounds like you're your own law firm, right? If you're starting with the clients at first appearance and bond and bail settings or whatever. So I'm just confused. Do you work with a mental health court, a specialty court as well, or get them in? I don't understand.
Yeah, no, good question. Thanks for clearing that up.
Okay.
So our program, the Counsel at First, the Capital Area Private Defender Service, we handle majority of indigent defense representation in Travis County. So anybody who gets arrested needs an attorney. Majority of those clients go through our organization. And then we have independent attorneys who represent them. We supervise those attorneys, provide supportive services, operations, everything for those lawyers. Independent of that, Travis County started a mental health court. So because we handle a lot of the indigent representation overall, you can imagine that a lot of the clients that are in the mental health court happen to be our clients. The case managers will work with anybody in the court. So if you have retained attorney, pro se, we haven't had that happen yet in the mental health court, but they would work with pro se clients, attorneys. We have a decent amount of attorneys who are retained that hand that off to the defense attorney for the treatment court. So they would work with anyone in the court. So does that kind of answer your question? No, feel free to clear it up because we do. Yeah.
Right. So I guess, we have in El Paso, we're fortunate to have a public defender's office. So my mental health treatment court is part of our multidisciplinary team, exactly like yours, missing peer support, going to work on that. We find it much easier to work with the public defenders versus the private bar, because the private bar doesn't really have the resources. So I see how your hybrid is really good for the private bar, right? So we don't have that, but it's good for the team to have a constant public defender. Where is ours? She's somewhere right over here. Representing all the cohorts, right? The participants. So I'm just thinking, well, so then if someone came from the private bar, we just ask them, our public defender takes over the cases for the mental health.
Right. So same thing with us.
Okay.
We have a designated attorney, just like any treatment court. We have a designated defense attorney that works in that treatment court.
Okay.
Sounds like for you guys, it's your public defender. For
Okay.
us, it's an independent attorney that we supervise.
Okay.
And then the public defender's office, those attorneys continue to work with their clients that are in the court.
So it's just added representation, basically.
So it just representation transfers to the designated defense provider.
Okay.
So if a mental health client from the PD's office gets into the program, the attorney that has been working with that client continues to represent that client.
Got you.
For us, it transfers to the mental health court client. So
Okay.
you would have a previous CAPS attorney, assigned counsel, then the client would transfer to the assigned counsel that represents all of the clients in the mental health court outside of the public defender.
Okay.
Does that
Makes
make sense?
sense. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
No, thanks for clearing it up because it's kind of a new model, obviously. Did you have any other questions? So the question was, I got told by Judge Carr to repeat the questions. So the question was whether or not the clients that come from the PD's office also have case management, whether that comes from the mental health court case managers or their own resource. So the public defender's office has case managers that work with their clients, and so they'll continue to work with those clients. It's really like for a continuity of care. So they have clients that have been repeated clients of theirs. We try to do, in Travis County, we try to make sure that you continue to have like the attorney that's been working with you year over year. And so they'll continue to work with those clients. And so the same thing, like they have those relationships, they've built that rapport, which is why their attorneys and their case managers continue to work with those clients.
Okay.
Question?
Yes. I'm a defense lawyer here in Harris. Harris County has a MAC for misdemeanor appointments.
Yeah.
I've taken appointments. I'm a private lawyer, always been a private defense lawyer. I've taken appointments through the MAC in misdemeanors. I now accept appointments in competency restoration, which are based, for the most part, felonies. I don't believe the MAC appoints anyone in Harris County to misdemeanor competency restoration defendants, indigent defendants. My question is, I kind of forgot what my question was. Is there a separation between, I guess, what you all do? Do you all do is it just felony court or misdemeanor, or just anyone that is in the bubble of mental health or competency restoration? Do you all work with?
Yeah, so we have both the mental health court for misdemeanor and felony. They look a little bit different, but the entire team, all the team works closely together. It's the same pretrial officer. It's the same criminal justice liaison from the L.M.S.W. So we do it for both felony and misdemeanor for the mental health court. And then also, because Travis County is unique, we have a county attorney and a district attorney, but also our Managed Assigned Counsel Program does handle all the way from Class B misdemeanors up to murder first degree.
Okay. And the MAC here in Harris County for misdemeanors, it works great. The resources, they're useful. It's great. It's a great organization, great group. It's not accepted yet in felony courts, where we have a lot of these mental health cases that are coming from. In the public defender's office, there's a couple assigned that do accept cases specifically for competency restoration, and the rest are private attorneys. But here, at least in Harris County, public defenders can accept capital cases, and of course, you all know there's mental health capital defendants, so that's the need for the private attorney here, at least accepting those felony cases.
Yeah, it's the same with us. So capital cases end up going to assigned counsel. Our public defenders they don't represent capital cases. We don't have any of those cases in the mental health court, as you can imagine. But our team does work with our external, outside of the mental health court team, will work with those capital cases. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you for your awesome presentation so far. I have a question that speaks to more of the mental health part of it, and that's kind of where I come from. I'm the medical director of one of the Forensic Acts team in Dallas County and the new AOT team. You had mentioned, Kathleen, that your approach to people who are high utilizers of services is really different from those who are kind of within the more regular cohort. So how do you tailor your services to those who are high utilizers?
Yeah, I think it takes a lot of patience and creative problem solving with some of our clients who are brand new. We try to walk alongside them as they're learning about their diagnosis and helping them with some of the psychoeducation that goes along with getting a new mental health diagnosis, whereas with our clients who have been experiencing mental health for most of their life, they have, I mean, it depends on the client, but a lot of them have more insight into their diagnosis and a history of engaging with different providers, and then along with that, some trauma of interacting with those systems. So I think with our high utilizer clients, patients, and then also being really trauma informed and knowing that some of them have had really negative experiences with hospitalization, or some of them have a really hard time going into the courtroom because maybe they've been arrested in the courtroom before. So being really gentle and patient and listening to their stories and knowing the whole person that is coming into any space that we go with them, and yeah, the history, and just like listening to what they've experienced and keeping all of those things in mind as we're interacting them. Does that answer your question?
It actually does. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Something that I can tag along on those is some of those high utilizer clients, they've been unhoused or they've been in and out of the justice system for a really long time, and all they know is like something's wrong with you, you're not doing well. And so we come with the approach of like maybe creating a little bit of hope. We start where the client is at and focus slowly on different goals, like even the tiniest goals, celebrating that with them. And then we also have like peer support. So for example, one of our clients was, we were trying to engage her with peer support, and then once she got to learn what Theo had experienced, she was like, oh, I can't believe. And so it created a little bit of like, you know, you walked in my shoes, but now you're here and you're doing well. And so we just try to approach it slowly, but then also whenever the majority of our clients that go back into custody is because they stop taking their meds. You know, they're taking their meds, they feel good, and then they're like, oh, I don't need them, I'm doing good. And so something that we do from the beginning is, you know, I mentioned to them, do you give me permission to let you know when you're not doing well? When I can see that maybe something is changing right from the beginning, do you give me permission? And so sometimes I've even had a client say, like, whenever I'm not doing well, whenever I start taking my meds, I tend to purchase a lot of items, or I tend to just like waste a lot of money. And so if you start noticing that, like, let me know, because that way I can know that I'm not doing well. So we have those conversations from the beginning, like, do you give me that permission? And I got that from, we went to a session where someone with mental health, like one of the clients was speaking, and he said, nobody had ever asked me for my permission to let me know when I wasn't doing well. So I have all these people telling me that I'm not doing well, but none of them had ever asked me. And so I really took that to heart, and we do ask our clients, do you give me that permission to let you know when I see changes in you, and then do you give me permission to get help for you? And so we do work a lot with the local mental health authority. They have different they have the FACT team, the ACT team, and if our clients are those that have been in and out of custody, we try our hardest to get them into those programs, because that's what they need.
I work with Dr. Obakoya in Dallas, and something she said sparked a thought. So we run into some courts that are reluctant to work with high utilizers because of like after hours and weekend coverage. And so I was wondering what the hours of your case management are. Is this like a 24/7 thing, or do you guys turn it off in the evenings and weekends?
No, our is Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, but we're intentional about letting our clients know, like, and not just because we work those hours, but because, you know, when they graduate our program, we're not going to be there. So our intention is to connect them to those resources that are always going to be there. And so we give them a lot of information about M.H.P.S, about our psychiatric emergency services, or just what's out there, how can I get help? And we do give that information to our clients and their families as well. But our intention is always connecting clients to what's out there, what has been working, because we're not always going to be there for them.
And in situations where we do know a client's in crisis or client's having challenges, or maybe we're closer to the end of the day and they're working with a client, like the team, of course, is never going to abandon a client. Like it's 5 o'clock, I'm off the clock. And so there are situations where they'll continue to work with a client, or we've gotten calls on a weekend, kind of what we all heard that burnout conversation yesterday. What we try to empower our team to do is set boundaries, but obviously in this type of environment, we are all here because we really care, and so sometimes that's like a little bit harder. So really it's like a situation where if you are aware of a crisis, you're aware of a situation with a client, like there is a responsibility to continue to like see that through till the client is stable or in a safe environment. But yeah, really like Diana said, like empowering them to like reach sustainability and learn on their own how to set boundaries, and we're teaching them boundaries as well. But yeah, I think that's definitely with this high utilizer population, it is definitely a challenge in this field to try to figure out like how do you balance that.
To what extent have you worked with or been successful dealing with someone who with a long mental health history and who has now lapsed into true anosognosia?
Yes, so that was one of the things that we were going to talk about, just success stories. There was this client that I was working with. She was well educated and just started experiencing mental health, became unhoused, lost her mother passed away, and she had been a high utilizer in and out, didn't accept that she had mental health. Her background was social work, so she was like, I know what you're, it was really difficult. It took about like a year and a half of working with the client before she actually was like, yeah, I need help, or yeah, I do have a mental health diagnosis, connect me with the local mental health authority. After 2 years, she graduated the program. Once in a while, it's been a year, and once in a while, I'll get photos from her, and she's like, look, I'm doing amazing. I have employment, I have this, and just getting those text messages from her just inspired me to continue doing what we're doing, because, it worked for her. She was a client where, almost some people wanted to give up, but we kept trying.
One additional question. What if the person has been assigned a defense attorney and has told the defense attorney, not now, nor have I ever had a mental illness, and by the way, I refuse to have you, speak to anybody that I've seen or my parents?
Yeah. With that client, we continue to meet with them. We if they're in custody, we meet with them. If they refuse, we'll come back then, another time. But while they're in custody, we try to meet with them as most often as we can, and we switch around. Like case management, we'll meet with them, and then peer support will go. But I think when they're in custody is when you can show your support. And then when they're out of custody, we'll go find them in the community. We ask them, where do you usually sleep, or where do you hang out? And then we'll go look for them in the area.
Okay, I think I'm supposed to be done now.
Thank you.
Thank you all for being here.